The sun had barely begun its slow descent when Rex realized he was alone. He had always loved going to the park. The rush of wind in his face, the explosion of scents on the breeze, the chorus of barking voices in every direction, it was a sensory wonderland. For as long as he could remember, the park had been a place of joy. His human, a tall man with a booming laugh and quick feet, used to throw the ball far, sometimes too far, and Rex would chase it with every ounce of strength in his muscular legs. But today was different. It wasn't just the ball he couldn't find. It was his person, and as the long shadows of the evening crept across the empty field, Rex's ears flicked nervously. He paced, sniffing the grass, the bench, the old oak tree, every place his human had sat or stood. The familiar scent was faint now, like an echo of a memory. His heart pounded. Something was wrong. The other dogs were long gone, their humans having called them home hours ago. Rex sat by the gate where they had entered, staring out toward the parking lot. A car door slammed in the distance, but it wasn't the old green truck he knew. He waited. He watched. And no one came. The sun vanished behind the trees. The air turned cooler. The park lights flickered on, bathing the field in a sterile glow. Still, Rex waited. By midnight, he lay curled in the corner under the bench, shivering, not from cold, but from a deep, gnawing fear. His mind chased through possibilities. Had he done something wrong? Did his human forget him? The thought sliced deep. Rex whimpered softly, pressing his nose to his paws. He didn't sleep that night. The next day was worse. Hunger clawed at his stomach. He trotted along the fence line, sniffing at trash bins, hoping for something, anything. A discarded hot dog wrapper yielded a lick of mustard. He dug in the dirt by the trees, nose twitching for the scent of food. No one came. On the third day, the skies opened up. Rain poured in heavy sheets, soaking the field. Rex found shelter beneath the big slide in the playground, his fur plastered to his body. His ribs had begun to show beneath his golden brown coat, and his eyes, once sharp with playfulness, looked dull and hollow. Every crack of thunder made him flinch. He began to understand he had been left. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a delay. He had been abandoned. A week passed. The park maintenance workers finally spotted him, an exhausted, bedraggled figure hunched in the corner, too weak to bark, too tired to run. One of them, a woman named Tasha, approached slowly, crouching low, whispering gently. "Hey there, buddy? It's okay. You're safe now." Rex growled at first, his tail low and stiff. He didn't want to trust anyone again. But hunger overruled fear. The smell of sausage on her fingers was enough to tempt him forward. Inch by inch, he crept close. Tasha held out her hand. Rex sniffed it, then licked her palm. That night, he rode in the back of her truck, wrapped in a thick towel, the warm smell of sausages still lingering in his mouth. He was too exhausted to notice much, just that he was moving, somewhere new. The shelter smelled like fear and bleach. Rex huddled in a corner kennel, head down, tail tucked. Dogs barked from every direction, high-pitched yips, deep warning growls, endless echoes off the walls. The sound overwhelmed him. He pressed himself against the wall, eyes darting. They fed him, cleaned him, treated his matted fur and the sores on his paws. The vet checked his ears, heart, teeth, and scanned for a microchip. Nothing. No name tag, no ID. Just a dog with a haunted look and a deep wound in his trust. They gave him a name, Rex. It felt strange, hearing it. Foreign. But he responded to it after a while, when it was spoken gently enough, paired with treats and soft pats behind the ears. The shelter volunteers were kind, but Rex couldn't relax. Every footstep outside his kennel made him jump. Every stranger's hand sent his muscles tensing. He wanted to believe he was safe. But something deep inside still trembled. Days turned to weeks. Rex watched other dogs come and go. Puppies were adopted fast. Old dogs took longer, but many found homes. He stayed. He wasn't aggressive, but he wasn't warm either. He didn't rush to the kennel door to greet visitors. He didn't wag his tail or bark excitedly. He simply watched from his corner, eyes dark and wary. And that, for many adopters, was enough to move on to the next kennel. "Poor guy," said Lisa, one of the longtime volunteers. "He's still carrying the weight of whatever happened to him. But he's got so much heart. I see it in his eyes." Tasha visited often, slipping him pieces of grilled chicken and speaking softly to him. She never pushed. Sometimes she sat outside his kennel for an hour without saying a word, just letting him get used to her presence. Rex grew to expect her visits. Some part of him dared to hope. But he didn't understand how to trust again. One Saturday afternoon, the bell at the front rang. Family tour, one of the staff called. Rex didn't lift his head. He'd seen too many tours. A young couple entered, followed by a boy, maybe 8 or 9, with wild curls and a face full of freckles. The woman wore jeans and a hoodie, the man had paint-stained hands and tired eyes. The boy carried a stuffed elephant in one hand. They stopped at kennel after kennel, reading names, kneeling down to greet excited dogs. The boy laughed when a small terrier licked the glass and wagged like crazy. But they kept walking. When they reached Rex's kennel, the boy froze. "This one," he said quietly. His parents looked at each other, then down at the large, quiet dog curled in the corner. "Honey, he looks kind of scared," the mother said gently. "He needs us," the boy said. Rex lifted his head, meeting the boy's eyes. Something flickered there. Not fear, not excitement, recognition. The boy knelt down slowly and placed the stuffed elephant against the glass. "This is George," he said. "He's my friend. He helps when I have nightmares." Rex watched the elephant slide down the glass. Then, without meaning to, he stood. He walked to the gate. Slowly, carefully. The boy didn't move. He waited. Rex pressed his nose to the bars. The boy did the same. Back at the front desk, the shelter director raised her eyebrows. "You want to meet Rex? He's a tough case. Still healing." The parents exchanged another look. The boy was already bouncing on his heels. "Please? All right. We'll do a supervised introduction. Let's take it slow." The meeting room was quiet, with soft lighting and a bin of toys in the corner. Rex entered hesitantly, leash in hand, his body low but his ears perked forward. The boy sat cross-legged on the floor, holding George the elephant. Rex stayed still. Then, ever so slowly, he crossed the room. 1 step. 2. 3. He stopped in front of the boy, head tilted. The boy reached out his hand. Rex didn't flinch. He let the boy touch him. Then, something unexpected happened. A sound emerged from Rex's throat, low, soft, almost hesitant. A tail wag. Just once. But enough. The adoption papers were signed that same afternoon. Tasha cried a little. Lisa took photos of Rex with the boy and his family, capturing the rare moment of a tail wag and the soft press of Rex's head against the boy's knee. The shelter staff lined up by the gate to say goodbye. They'd all grown quietly fond of the solemn dog who had weathered so much. For weeks he'd been a ghost in the corner, and now here he was, walking out with a boy who smiled like the sun. The family's car was a red hatchback. The mother opened the back door and spread out a thick quilt for Rex to lie on. She had packed treats, water, and a soft rope toy. The boy held George the elephant in his lap and sat beside Rex, gently stroking his side as the car pulled away. Rex didn't know what was happening. His body trembled slightly. He kept his eyes on the road behind them, watching the shelter shrink into the distance. He didn't bark. He didn't cry, but something inside him stirred, a feeling too old and too new all at once. Hope. The house smelled like paint, laundry, and warm bread. The father was an artist and had a small studio in the backyard filled with canvases and open windows. The mother taught piano and had fingers that moved like water across the keys. Their son's name was Milo, and he had a laugh that sounded like wind chimes on a breezy afternoon. They gave Rex his own bed in the living room, a blue cushion near the window where the sun pooled each morning. They filled a shiny metal bowl with cool water and placed another with dry food beside it. A name tag was added to his collar, Rex, loved and home. But the transition wasn't easy. The first few nights, Rex didn't sleep. He paced. Every creak in the floorboards, every rustle of wind outside the window made his ears twitch. He didn't bark, didn't whine, just stayed alert, watching, waiting, unsure if this comfort would vanish like it had before. Milo tried to be patient. He would sit beside Rex each evening and read books aloud, stories about dragons, superheroes, and magical forests. Sometimes he fell asleep right there on the rug, with George the elephant tucked under his arm and his hand resting gently on Rex's back. It was during one of those nights, around the 4th or 5th, that Rex finally lay down beside Milo. Just close enough that their backs touched. In the morning, Milo found Rex curled around him like a protector. He never said anything about it. He just smiled and scratched behind Rex's ears. Trust grew in inches, not miles. Rex flinched when the father dropped a pan in the kitchen. He ducked when someone raised their hand too quickly. Thunderstorms sent him under the couch, trembling. The shelter had healed his body, but his spirit still bore scars invisible to the eye. The family didn't push. They gave Rex space, gentle boundaries, soft encouragement. When he began to sniff at toys, they celebrated quietly. When he followed Milo into the backyard for the first time, they cheered like he'd crossed the finish line of a race. Every tail wag, every lick, every moment of curiosity was a victory. One day, Milo tied a red bandana around Rex's neck. Rex stood still, uncertain, but didn't back away. He looked at himself in the hallway mirror, confused by the bright color fluttering around his chest. "You look like a hero," Milo said, beaming. Milo had his own battles. He didn't like loud places. Crowded classrooms overwhelmed him. Sometimes, at night, he'd wake up shaking, breathing hard, his eyes wide with silent fear. George the elephant would be clutched to his chest, and his parents would rush in to calm him. It was during one of these moments that Rex truly found his purpose. Milo had fallen out of bed, curled on the floor, his small body trembling. His parents were still asleep. But Rex heard him. He trotted into the room, sniffed at Milo, and lay down beside him, pressing his warm body against the boy's. Milo's breathing slowed. His fingers reached out to tangle in Rex's fur. When the parents found them minutes later, Rex was still there, watchful, quiet, present. After that, Rex started sleeping in Milo's room every night. With time, the park became part of their life again. At first, Rex refused to get out of the car. The smells, the sounds, the open field, it all brought back the worst kind of memories. He whined softly, trembling, staring out at the gate with wide eyes. But Milo was patient. He brought George along and sat on the grass just outside the car. Every day they went, and every day Milo sat quietly, sometimes reading, sometimes just humming. He never begged Rex to come. Never pulled. And one day, weeks later, Rex stepped out on his own. It was just a few feet at first. Then 10. Then 20. The trees didn't hurt him. The gate didn't lock him in. The park didn't steal anything this time. It gave him something back. Joy. By late autumn, Rex was a different dog. He chased balls now, though never too far. He ran beside Milo and barked at squirrels. He learned commands like, stay, come, and, easy. His favorite place was still the blue cushion by the window, but he'd begun to nap belly up, legs in the air, snoring softly. He had become a guardian, a friend, a brother. But more than anything, he had become free. One evening, as golden leaves scattered across the backyard, Milo lay in the grass with Rex by his side. The boy looked up at the sky, then turned to his furry friend. "Do you know what I think?" he said softly. "I think we saved each other." Rex looked at him with eyes full of quiet understanding. And then, slowly, he rested his head on the boy's chest. Winter came softly that year. Snow dusted the rooftops like powdered sugar. Icicles dripped from the eaves, and the park where Rex had once cowered now glistened under a blanket of white. The world had quieted, muffled by the cold. Inside the house, things were warm. Rex had a new sweater, hand-knit by Milo's mother in forest green with a paw print stitched into the back. He wasn't sure about it at first, but after discovering it kept his belly warm on early walks, he accepted it as part of his identity. The boy wore matching mittens. The bond between them had grown unshakable. They woke together, walked together, and often sat curled up near the fire while Milo read aloud from his favorite fantasy books. Rex listened with those attentive brown eyes, and sometimes Milo would say, "You'd make a good knight, you know." And he meant it, because to Milo, Rex wasn't just a dog. He was the brave soul who stayed when things got hard, the one who understood without needing words. But even with how far Rex had come, echoes of his past still whispered now and then. Once, a neighbor slammed a car door too hard. Rex dropped to the ground, heart racing. Another time, they walked past a man in the park with a booming voice, and Rex froze mid-step, tail tucked between his legs. Milo noticed every time, and every time, he'd kneel beside him, place his hands gently around Rex's neck, and say, "It's okay. I'm here." Those 3 words became a promise. The real test came unexpectedly. It was early spring when the family decided to take a weekend trip to the lake. Milo had never been before, and he was thrilled. The plan was to rent a small cabin, hike a little, fish a little, and let Rex run off leash in the open woods. The car was packed with sleeping bags, snacks, board games, and of course, George the elephant and Rex's favorite rope toy. When they arrived, the lake shimmered under the sun, and the trees stood tall like old guardians watching over the land. Rex sniffed every inch of the clearing. His tail wagged slowly at first, then faster. It was peaceful. No fences, no angry voices, just birdsong and wind and the occasional splash of fish near the shore. Milo's laughter echoed across the water. That night, they made a fire and roasted marshmallows. Milo fell asleep in his father's lap, and Rex curled beside them, his head resting on the boy's bare foot. The stars above twinkled like scattered diamonds, and for the first time in a long time, Rex let himself relax completely. He was safe, truly, deeply safe. But the next morning brought a scare. Milo wandered off to follow a butterfly, just past the tree line, out of sight. It only took a few minutes before the parents noticed he was gone. Panic bloomed fast. "Milo?" they called. Milo. Rex was already moving. His nose to the ground, he took off into the woods, muscles tight, instincts sharp. He followed the trail, twigs broken, scent fresh, until he heard it. A soft whimper. Then crying. Milo had slipped on some wet leaves and landed near a creek bed, not hurt badly, but stuck and scared. He was trying to climb back up when Rex came bounding through the brush. "Rex," the boy sobbed. "You found me." Rex nuzzled him, whining low and licking his face. He stood beside Milo until the parents arrived minutes later, their relief so fierce it left them breathless. That night, Milo held Rex tightly and whispered into his fur, "You saved me again." And this time, Rex believed it. As the months passed, the story of the scared dog from the park became a family tale, told over dinners, shared with neighbors, spoken with pride. "Did you know Rex was abandoned once?" Milo would say. "He used to be afraid of everything. But now? He's brave." People would look at the sleek, confident dog trotting beside the boy and find it hard to believe. But Milo never let them forget. To him, Rex's past wasn't a wound. It was proof of resilience, of healing, of love. They started visiting the shelter once a month, bringing toys and treats. Milo would crouch by the kennels, telling each dog that they were strong, that someone would come for them too. And Rex, once the frightened soul behind the chain link, stood tall beside him, a symbol of what could be. One evening, during a quiet walk near the old dog park, they passed the very bench where Rex had once been tied. He stopped. Milo looked at him. "You remember, don't you?" Rex stood still, then walked slowly toward the bench. He sniffed it once, then again, and then, he lifted his head, looked around, and turned back toward the boy. His eyes no longer held fear, just peace. Milo sat on the bench, and Rex rested his head in the boy's lap. The sunset painted the sky in amber and pink. "You're not that dog anymore," Milo whispered. "You're mine now." Rex let out a deep, content sigh, the kind only a dog who has truly found home can make. And so, the dog once abandoned in a park, once too broken to trust, became the heart of a family. He wasn't perfect. Some days were still hard. Some sounds still startled him. But every challenge was met with love. Every scar, physical or not, was seen and honored. Because love doesn't ask for perfection. It just stays. And for Rex, it stayed forever.